Welcome to whofooadventures. On November 4th, we attended the Southwest VegFest in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where we got these nifty t-shirts. I got to meet Robert Cheek, bodybuilder, vegan athlete, and now author. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
What were some of your highlights from the VegFest?
Well, I really enjoyed getting to know people. They shared their stories. I shared my stories. We shared our knowledge. We encouraged one another. We challenged one another with maybe some further topics and books that we could read. And I really enjoyed that. I was hanging out near the AZ VegFest booth and spent some time with a gentleman there. Just really enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the food. They had some great options for vegans at the different food truck vendors. It was really yummy.
So we've compiled a short video summary of our trip. We hope you'll enjoy it.
This is the only non-animal natural source of vitamin D. Is it spinach, mushroom, or seaweed/spirulina? I'm going to need your answers, ladies and gentlemen. We have spirulina. We have seaweed spirulina. Seems to be a popular answer. And shroomies is the correct answer. It's mushrooms. We have a winner, ladies and gentlemen. And as it
So there's a fine line between knowing what you're eating and being healthy about that, and being obsessive. And those of us who have obsessive personalities know what we're talking about. But most people are not competitively bodybuilding. So since we're not, we don't need to track all of our intake and keep track of all our poops and everything that goes in, everything that comes out. We don't need to do that. It's useful as a snapshot to reassure ourselves that our overall intake is at the right levels. When it gets obsessive, then there's another thing that can happen with our way of eating, and then it looks more like there's a disorder attached to it as opposed to a healthful way of living. So ideally, what I hope and long for everyone is that we have a healthy relationship with food, that we eat real food, plant-based food, wide varieties, in the right amounts.
Two of the things that you're most likely to experience adopting a plant-based diet, especially as an athlete, is improved recovery time and increased energy. Why? Because Dr. Ben hit the nail on the head. Focus on animal protein or even protein in general is not an effective source of energy. People say, man, I went vegan, but I still feel like I get enough energy. I think I need to go back to eating meat for more energy. I'm like, do you know how science works? You eat carbohydrates, fats, and then protein is your last resort for getting fuel. And so, and also, what we do is on a whole food plant-based diet, we usually decrease inflammation, which speeds up recovery process. Why is that good? So if you can speed up your recovery process, it means you can train more often.
So growing up Hawaiian, my dad raised our own meat. And the times that I saw him kill our animal, in this case, we had two pigs named Tamil and Pumbaa, when he killed them in front of us, it didn't come across as strength to me. It came across as cowardice. Like, if you're using your power to take away someone else's power, to me, that's not strength, that's abuse. And so, so a lot of this concept of strength, and we know now isn't exclusive to men. We find, I'm assuming as vegans, we find strength in defending and protecting others and standing up for something as opposed to standing for something, in which case is eating animals, we know for us that doesn't define us as men or as males.
You know, there's strength and vulnerability, right? And I never saw that before. I know growing up, I grew up in a household that was very much like, you don't show emotion. If you're, if you have emotions, you're weak, right? Like real men eat red meat and they don't cry. You know what I mean? That was the family I grew up in, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. And so, especially after going vegan, I really learned that living a compassionate lifestyle and caring about things and like having an emotional side, like this is part of not only being a man but being a human.
For me, I'm Italian. I grew up Italian, and I grew up with the homies on the block. So I like to think I'm a corner boy in my past life. And at 30, I hit rock bottom. I was living this fast life, sex, money, drugs, house, money, all these cars, everything. Hit rock bottom, became broke, homeless, spiritually, financially, morally, emotionally bankrupt. I was everything but dead. And in that moment, at 30 years old, and broken, homeless, somebody gave me a fresh press organic juice, which changed my life. And I was ready to receive it at that moment. Led me down a road of profound transformation, introduced me to veganism. I embraced veganism, but I was like, we're gonna make it gangster vegan. If I'm gonna be vegan, it's gonna be gangster vegan. I went back to my hometown after probably missing for like a year and a half, and I reemerged to family and friends and the homies as a vegan. I was holding juices and fruits around. They went from, in their eyes, from Puff Daddy to like hippie vegan man. Now they're like, but knowing me, they're like, he's up to something. He's scammed, like he's scamming us. He's like, we know him, and so he's up to something. So they want to know like what's behind it. Like they were waiting for the like, aha, I told you, and it never happened. And that was about 8 years ago. So the key is food. For me, it's the food. In my previous lifestyle, I used my strength to hurt people, and I hurt a lot of things. Friends, family. I would trample over any and everything to get what I wanted. Joe Pesci style in Goodfellas, Casino. I thought I was this mobster, Tupac. Like, I will hurt you. Like, you look at me funny, like it's going down. And I was good at it, and I was good at leading others to do the same thing. But looking back now, as I went through this profound transformation 8 years ago, looking back now, it's like I was just a coward.
A lot of this idea that, meat is associated with masculinity is this idea that, we have to have strength to get it, that we have to hunt or we have to somehow, subdue an animal and harm it to prove that we're masculine. And so, but at its core, it's about strength. So that begs the question of like, okay, am I going to use this strength to harm others, whether it's animals, whether it's other humans, possibly people who, are vulnerable and I'm taking advantage of them? Or am I going to use this strength to protect and to serve and to help others? For guys like me in Thailand, we reverse diseases on this. So it's like when somebody asks me why, it's like, look, I was really sick and I had this problem and it went away eating this way. You really can't argue with that. There's not a medicine, there's not a pharmaceutical drug that can do that, right? And there's not really another diet that can do that.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe for more Whofoo content. See you next time.